Okay, I'm Jamie.
I'm Vanessa.
And we're low-key obsessed. And today we're going to talk to Mandy. And Mandy is a trichologist. Are we saying that correctly?
You can say trichologist or trichologist.
Okay, so I'm saying it not correctly at all.
No. It's actually in Australia, they all say trichologist, but I say trichologist just because it comes from the word trick, meaning hair. So it's I feel like it's not trike. I don't know. That's just how I. That's how I.
Trichologist. Okay, I'm glad I clarified. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how did you get into this?
It's kind of a long story. So I guess I am kind of a HR lady turned trichologist. So my background is not in hair, but I guess I've had my own struggles with hair loss, and so that's kind of what got me interested. Yeah, do you want me to go back and kind of explain?
For sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I actually had an eating disorder, and was just going through a lot of stress. I was in university and lots going on, and it was actually near probably. Yeah, when I was about 21 that I really started noticing that my hair was getting a lot thinner, and actually a few of my family members had said that, and
they told you that you had thin hair.
Yeah, because I think they were worried what's going on this, and I always had curly red hair, so it was something that people noticed about me.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Yeah.
And so a couple people said that, and I was then I became hyper aware of it and started kind of obsessing, probably high key obsessing over it. Not low-key. And so I just at that time I was going to counseling, and I was really focusing on my health, and I was getting better, and I thought, I'll just start eating healthier again and it'll grow back. I thought that was the solution. Yeah. And so it did start getting a little bit better, but it just was not to the level that it was before. It never fully recovered. So I went to my doctor, and I'm you need to send me to someone who specializes in hair. And so he sent me to someone, or at least put in a requisition for me to see this dermatologist. I won't mention his name because he's actually still working in the hair world. But yeah, I waited probably, I don't know, probably close to 6 months to see this specialist. Yeah, and I was excited about it. And probably once I actually got to see him, it was a 2-minute appointment. Didn't really
ask you any questions.
Not about my diet or eating disorder or blood test results or anything like that. It was just very clinical. He looked at my hair and he was I think you just have female pattern hair loss, basically. And I was what now? And basically just said you can use Rogaine, which is a
hair growth stimulant.
Or consider a hair transplant, and sent me on my way. And I was but what? What about this? What about that? And basically just left me with way more questions than
than answers. Totally. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so I continued along, started working in HR, but it was always in the back of my mind, this, I don't feel like this is the whole
picture.
Story.
Totally.
Yeah. And so I continued doing my own research, trying to figure out what was going on with me. Found some things that were helpful, but it was always I never knew if what I was reading online or, talking to people about was accurate. I would go see naturopaths or other doctors, and I'm how do I know if this is true or not, right? And so I could never really land on a treatment that really felt
like it was working for you.
Yeah. And so I guess it was I was in my, I was working at SFU in HR, and I started doing my MBA. And it was in that program that I really started thinking, like, how could I turn this interest in hair into a business where I was helping other people who were going through the same thing, trying to figure out what was causing their hair loss. And so just Googling, talking to people, talking to hairstylists, and stumbled upon trichology. And I was like, what is this? Like, I had no idea. Learned that it was maybe way more popular in other areas of the world. And so I found a program through, it's the IAT, the International Association of Trichologists, and started doing that program online. Took me a couple years, and then I went to Melbourne. They had a clinical training there.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. And so I'm like, this is Dr. Rodney Sinclair. He's like one of the best in the world for he's he's a dermatologist. And so I thought, oh, this is like, I gotta go. And yeah, so I went in November 2019 and just followed around all the dermatologists there, and then came back like right before COVID.
Yeah, I was wondering, was that during COVID? That's like the beginning of it?
Yeah. So it's probably starting there, and I didn't know about it. Yeah, and then I came back here and decided to start my business right when COVID started.
What a challenge. So like how does, because like the dermatologist basically like didn't ask you any questions. So like how does this approach differ from what a dermatologist would do? Like what kind of diagnosis do you do?
Yeah, so a lot of dermatologists who work privately in the world do a lot more background kind of checking, but there aren't a lot of them. So basically, when I have a new client, I send them a questionnaire that goes through all of their medical history, all of their lifestyle history, how their hair, like when their hair last started, how it's progressing, how it's currently presenting. So whether or not it's like concentrated more on like the top of their head, or is it patchy? Did it happen really quickly? Has it been slowly progressing? And the medical background would be like any medications, any underlying medical conditions. Basically blood tests that they've done, all of that. And
just like a more holistic approach.
Yeah. Because a lot of what's going on with the hair, it's starting, internally.
Inside your body.
Yeah. And so I gather all of that. And then in the in-person appointments, I use a microscope to look closer at the hair and scalp.
Interesting.
And that can tell you some things about what's
like
going
hair
on
health and scalp health.
Yeah. And whenever I show people, because we usually will like go through the photos, and I'll show them comparisons to
like a healthy version versus an unhealthy version, like the lungs where you see like a smoker's lung or non-smoker's lung.
And people are like, oh my God, I don't want to see that. It's like even when it actually is pretty good, your hair and scalp aren't really the like sexiest
things to
pictures.
look at. Yeah.
So
I would love to see my
my
scalp. Can you tell by my scalp from just looking at me right now?
Is that a healthy scalp? It looks healthy to me.
It does. Yes, it doesn't look red. So that's good.
No irritation. Okay.
Yeah. I should have brought my microscope. We
could have done like a little tutorial.
Totally. So I try to look at it holistically.
No, that makes sense. So like because like obviously hair is like such a trend now, and there's like so many things on TikTok about hair and so many like rice water and like rosemary water and all these like weird trends. Like fact or like complete myth, would you say?
So I feel old because I like just got TikTok so that I can look up some of these. I would say some of them have some truth to them, but it's, I find that like some are harmless, like really
like rice water, would you say?
Yeah. Rice water, rosemary water. They could help slightly with just the general condition of your hair. Rice water, for example, could coat the hair strands, make them look
like have more
shinier,
volume.
Volume, yeah. And rice has amino acids in it that could be good for just the strength or condition of the hair,
Okay.
but likely not going to help it grow.
Like a miracle solution.
Would you ever try it?
No, probably not. I was actually thinking about that.
Like when you were on TikTok where you're like, no.
Yeah. The rosemary, I will say, like rosemary oil, there are some studies, not huge
Results.
Yeah, but not nothing either. But the thing with like rosemary oil or a lot of hair treatments is that they need to be used pretty regularly. So there was one study that looked at rosemary oil versus minoxidil, which is the active ingredient in Rogaine. And they actually were quite similar, 2% minoxidil, which is a lower strength, but that and rosemary oil. But it was used like every day, twice a day. Consistently over months. And I think a lot of these trends, they're like, use this rice water, or they're doing it once a week. And it's like, just pouring something over your hair and then rinsing it out, like it's probably not gonna do much.
Yeah, like earth shattering. Yeah. The other one that we see a lot of is Monet. Like anytime there's a girl on TikTok, she's like luscious locks. You're like, oh, what is it? And then they're like, follow me to find out my secret. And it's always Monet. And I was like, no.
I never heard of Monet until you mentioned it.
Really?
Yeah,
maybe it's because I'm just a sucker. And anytime I see a girl who shows me before and an after and then tells me to follow the link, I'm like, yeah, okay.
I'm there.
I'm curious, in the before, did they like
I
just
think
haven't brushed their hair?
Yeah, they removed the hair extensions and then put them in.
Yeah.
Like that's what I've come to figure out. I'm like, these girls all lie. It's just hair extensions. Like there's no before now. Especially after we talked, I was like, okay, it's not real.
Yeah. Totally. Well, and I think I told you guys that in the Instagram hair community where people like wear extensions, other types of hair pieces, sometimes their images are stolen and used as before and afters to market certain hair loss products. But yeah, Monat. I don't even know how to pronounce it, to be honest. I used to call it Monat.
It might be Monat. Like, I'm not the authority on how to pronounce things.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't want to get in trouble. But it's not necessarily that the product is bad. I just think that they're overpriced, for one. They make claims that I think they're not allowed to actually make anymore because there were a few lawsuits against them.
They're like overstaking their claims.
Yeah. Saying that they help grow hair. I think not a few. I think there were quite a few people who had claimed that they actually caused hair loss from irritation, different fragrances or things in the products. And the one thing that I would say is the biggest red flag is just, so they're a multi-level marketing company.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
They advertise through, like, nothing wrong with influencers. It's just, I think, too, these people have been almost preyed on.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they like bought into it.
Yeah. And maybe they were experiencing short-term hair loss, started using these products, their hair did improve, and now they're like, this helped me, and they're trying to
get other people kind of to do it as well.
Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, like, hair loss is something that people are so like ashamed of, and they're so desperate that they're willing to really spend any amount of money
to kind of solve the problem.
Yeah. And then they get these products and they
maybe don't deliver the results.
Yeah.
So with that being said, like, when do people kind of make the decision to come and see you? Like, what does that look like, and what is kind of like their history usually?
Yeah. I see actually all types of people, but I would say the maybe most common person I would see is someone who's experiencing hair loss, either increased hair shedding, so they're just noticing that, like, all of a sudden they're losing way more hair in the shower, or they've been slowly losing hair for a period of time, and it's just becoming noticeable, or they've tried things and they haven't worked, and so they reach out for help. And then recently I've gotten a lot more people who are just concerned about overall scalp health, like dandruff or itchy scalp. Their hair is dry, or it just doesn't maybe look the same as it used to. Yeah. And they're just confused. Like, there's so many things out there, and they just want like a routine, something that
works for them.
Yeah.
So like there's supplements that are usually like pushed for hair, like collagen or like silica or like biotin. Like, is there any kind of noticeable results you're going to see from that, or?
I think this is another, like, probably not.
Yeah.
Like, biotin got so popular, and I really don't know why. A lot of these trends, like, maybe there was like something that they were used for, and then it just kind of got adopted. Like, it's like a blanket recommendation. But yeah, biotin, collagen, there's not really any good clinical evidence that they help with hair growth.
Yeah.
They can help with hair strength, nail strength. Biotin's really good for that. People will come to me and they're like, my nails
are really long because of biotin.
Yeah. But for hair, biotin deficiency can cause hair loss, but that's like very, very rare. So I don't think it's a bad thing to take. It's probably something that's harmless, but it's not the miracle kind of cure. I'd say like iron deficiency is likely way more common, and can definitely cause hair loss. So if your iron levels are low, good to take iron. Things like zinc, vitamin D, L-lysine.
Okay.
Those are kind of the big ones that I'd say for hair.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then would you suggest, like, usually you do blood work and then you see what you're deficient in, and then kind of like test for your deficiencies versus just like taking magic supplements?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're going to make the biggest difference when, say you have like, you do a blood test and you have very low B12 levels or ferritin levels. The lower those are, the more likely that they could be contributing to hair loss. I mean, a hair multivitamin is not a bad additional support. I take some. I think it's just finding one that has those things that I just mentioned, and just not expecting that it's going to be a miracle. It's just an additional support, and also trying to find something that's not completely overly priced.
Yeah. Can I ask what you take?
Yeah. So
I'm curious.
Yeah. So I take one by a company called Propera, but they're an Australian company. So I actually get them imported here. And I think the biggest reason I get them from there is they're reasonably priced. And so it ends up being like $25 a month versus some of these
even
others.
with you importing it in from Australia.
Yeah. And some of these, like Nutrafol, Viviscal, those are a few others that have like some decent clinical evidence, just more expensive.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't think they need to be.
So in terms of like diet, like, is there certain things like fish I don't know, that you should eat to make your hair like healthy and shiny? Like, is there anything that can be like done on that side of things to like ensure that you have healthy hair and a healthy scalp? I was just thinking, because like I feel like the doctor tells you to take like omega-3s or fish oil, and I feel like maybe that's for hair, maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Neither am I. I think diet can definitely affect hair for sure. I would say like the most important thing is eating enough. Like,
interesting.
So I mean, like going back to me having an eating disorder, that can definitely affect hair. But even I see people who are going on diets, or they're training for like a bodybuilding competition or something, and then they're really cutting calories. And that can cause a type of hair loss. It's called telogen effluvium. Basically because your body, like hair requires a lot of energy to keep producing new hairs, keep them in the growing phase. And when you're only eating enough calories to like just keep your body going.
Sustained, yeah.
Yeah. Your body will put more hairs into the resting phase because it's just like, I can't keep it up. And so that can cause quite significant hair shedding. So yeah, just eating enough is really, I think, the biggest thing. And then all of the like general, just for everything, like eating more fruits, vegetables, herbs, yeah, things like fish for sure. Fish.
Lean proteins, I don't know.
Yeah, I think just overall, like,
just being healthy.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, like, they think, and I was one of these people, so I'm not like, no judgment, but trying to eat like an anti-inflammatory diet. And like, I would feel bad if I ate gluten or dairy or all of these things. And really, like, unless you're allergic to.
Yeah, like if your body has some sort of sensitivity to it, then otherwise it should be fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's talk about grays.
Yes.
Tell me what I can do to remove my grays or make them grow not gray. Is that
reverse
the gray?
Reverse it.
Yes. I don't even know if you guys asked me this, but someone did. Maybe it was one of my clients about molasses or something.
Oh,
I don't know.
That wasn't
they
us.
were saying, okay. Yeah.
But I want to hear it. Does it work?
No, it doesn't. So yeah, gray hair is interesting because it's actually like a loss of pigment in the hair. So if you look at a gray or white hair under a microscope, it actually looks clear.
Oh.
It's really interesting. So yeah, once that pigment has left,
it's not coming back.
It's not coming
It's
back.
not coming back.
No.
So preventatively, we can.
Yeah.
What can we do preventatively? I guess. Then?
Yeah. So I would say, so stress definitely can affect graying of hair. If you look at like certain, I don't know, presidents, look at Obama.
They age so quickly in their election throughout the year.
It's like in 4 years, they go from not gray hair to gray hair. So yeah, things like stress can increase gray hair. And also just going through those periods of hair shedding, like I said earlier with telogen effluvium, it can kind of speed up the aging almost in a way because your hairs are coming out earlier and a new hair cycle is starting. And so it can, result in kind of more gray hairs that way. So
I feel like I've been like gray since like my early 20s. I must just be so stressed.
I have like a good chunk of 5 under here, or 5 or okay.
Mine
It
are all,
doesn't sound like a lot, but they're like
Mine are all crown, which is like the worst part
I feel
because
like
then you
that's
can like
easier
see
to
it.
cover. Because
Well,
mine
it's
are
just like then you see
all
them right
under
away.
here.
But those are hidden.
No, not if I like flip my hair or anything.
Okay.
every year you got a new one.
Yeah, every year I got a new one.
And if you pull out a gray hair, does that make more gray hairs, or is that like a fake thing?
No, it wouldn't make more gray hair.
But I guess you don't want to pull out your hair if you're already losing your hair. And then
Yeah.
just taking the gray ones out too.
I know, that's so funny. I would, every time my kids get their like hands stuck in my hair or they're like climbing on me and they somehow pull out one hair, I'm so dramatic. It's like, you just pulled out a handful of my hair. They're like, no, I didn't. It's just, I don't ever pull out.
It's just so
any of my
precious. You're
hairs.
like, I've been taking care of this.
Just like when one little strand left.
Yeah, totally.
I have like this struggle with my hair is like it's only grows to like a certain length always. Like if it no matter what I do, it's just like consistently like stops growing at a certain point.
Yeah.
Is that like I don't know, like genetics, or is there any way I can like move past that?
Yeah. So I'd say yes, it's genetic and maybe you could.
Okay.
In a few ways. So I guess just explaining like the general hair cycle. Our hair is in first the anagen or the growth phase. And it lasts in that phase for, it can vary quite widely. So from on the low end, like 3 years up to about 7 years. And then it goes into a short transition phase and then into the telogen phase, which lasts about 2 to 3 months. And then exogen, it falls out, and then a new anagen hair grows back in. So the length of your hair is proportionate to that growth phase. So if your hair is growing for 3 years and then falling out, it will never get past, you know,
That
a certain
point, yeah.
length. But if you have a growth phase of like 7 years, then it's growing. It can grow quite a bit longer. So some people are just lucky that they have a longer anagen phase. So I guess in that sense, it is genetic. So how long specifically your anagen phase is. But there are certain hair loss conditions that can start shortening that anagen phase.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So things like genetic hair loss, which is very common, also called androgenetic alopecia, also called female pattern hair loss, male pattern hair loss. So with that, the anagen phase of the hair cycle starts getting shorter. And so some people will notice that their hair, like, it won't grow past like their shoulders, or eventually, you know, it won't grow at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so certain treatments that would get at that underlying cause could help your hair grow a little bit longer. Also, if you're doing things to, I guess, cause your hair to break. So like brushing it,
that makes
you're
sense.
really,
Like dyeing it,
yeah,
heat
dyeing
tools.
it,
Okay.
things like that could cause your hair to break. And so, yeah, that can also.
And is there anything, I don't even know if this is a real myth, but like when you were little, they used to like cut your hair short because then it's like grow longer later. Like, that's fake, I guess, too. It's not lengthening your antigen phase.
I saw this, I don't know if it was a TikTok or someone had posted on Instagram. And like, I totally get people don't think about how their hair grows. Like, it's just not something I think about that all the time. So it was really funny to me. But she was like, someone just told me that your hair grows like from in your scalp. Like it doesn't
I think I saw
grow-
this TikTok. Yes.
It doesn't grow. She's like, I always thought it grew from like here.
Yeah.
What?
And she's like,
she
yeah,
thought it grew from the
Yeah.
bottom?
She thought it grew from the bottom. I remember seeing that. And she was so...
But this must be a joke.
No.
Like, this is not.
She was dead serious.
She was like, is it just in there? Like, where is it, guys? Like, anyway, I think, like, so yeah, if you think that your hair grows from your inside,
Yeah.
basically, cutting it and doing anything to the actual strands of your hair isn't going to affect how it grows
internally. Okay.
Did you mention something when we were talking over the phone about, maybe I just made this up now, it was like shark?
Oh, shark cartilage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So shark cartilage is one of the ingredients in Viviscal, that supplement. Also, it's in one of the supplements that I take that from that Propera brand. But yeah, there's some clinical evidence that shows that helps with hair growth and hair strength.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know, controversial, I guess. Like Viviscal, they don't even really promote that. Like, on their website, it's not like there's like a picture of a shark or anything. I don't even think it mentions, because people have different thoughts about that, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, it's they're apparently farmed for that purpose. Like, they're not just catching sharks in the ocean.
In the wild. Yeah.
Yeah, but there definitely is something to that. Yeah.
And I think when we originally talked too, you talked a lot about like scalp health.
Yeah.
And like how like dry shampoo, like it's just like that clogs your pores. I'm gonna let you take that away. Me not put words in your mouth. But like, cause that's definitely like a trend. Like it's like long, like lengthen your like hair, basically like make sure you like use dry shampoo and only wash your hair like once a week. And so like, what are kind of the effects of that?
Yeah, I don't know where that came from, honestly. It's just so odd to me that like it's like treat your skin on your face a certain way and then stop here and then treat this completely differently. I think maybe for like the actual strands of your hair, washing less frequently is probably good just because it's not as drying.
Yeah, it's not taking the natural oils out.
Yeah, but from a scalp health perspective, which is really what's affecting hair growth, it definitely is important to make sure that you wash. It doesn't have to be, every day, but at least a couple times a week. And it can be every day. People are, some people are walking around and they're like wearing their hair up or their hair's greasy. They hate how it looks. And they're like, but I can't wash it. I just have to
they're like working to the 5 days or whatever. So they can wash once a week. Yeah.
But then sometimes I look at these people's scalps and there's tons of product buildup or dandruff, seborrheic dermatitis, which is kind of a more severe form of dandruff.
Yeah.
That like quite common too. So this is not just like, one person coming in. This is a high percentage of people where, they actually need something like an anti-dandruff shampoo to get rid of this. That can really improve hair shedding and help hair grow. So it's like there are some simple things that you can do. So I would say probably better to treat your scalp more like you do your skin. And I think that is kind of where trends are going possibly.
Yeah.
That, hey, this is your skin still. And not that dry shampoo, it's fine to use it every once in a while. Probably not as a way to not wash your hair, thinking that that's going to improve something.
Mm-hmm. And then a clarifying shampoo, like how often, or does it depend on kind of like your hair type, I guess, like to use a clarifying to remove all the buildup?
Yeah, clarifying shampoos are good. I would say maybe once a week.
Okay.
And same with anti-dandruff shampoos. Like even if you don't think that you have dandruff, in a lot of cases, it can still be helpful to use an anti-dandruff shampoo once a week to kind of, it's caused, dandruff, seborrheic dermatitis is caused by a yeast that's like growing on your scalp. And so in order to get rid of it, you really do need ingredients like ketoconazole. Active ingredients that can get rid of that. Or another option, so clarifying shampoos are good, or products that have like salicylic acid, things like that, that can help exfoliate, remove kind of any buildup.
I always thought dandruff was like dry scalp.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah, no, people can sometimes have dry scalp and not have dandruff. And then, it actually, like, you always think, or I would think of dandruff as flakes. You see that commercial and people have flakes.
And it's like they're wearing a black sweater and they're like, it's like, oh, it's not snowing. It's just my hair. Yeah.
But it actually is more like, it sounds so gross, but like yellowish scales that are stuck kind of to the scalp. And so some people will say, like, when they scratch their scalp, they notice like that they kind of get something under their nails, or
I've had that before.
Yeah.
I mean, not recently.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not judging you. We're talking about hair health. Like we're here to help, Vanessa.
But yeah.
Totally.
Then I used a clarifying shampoo
And you're fine now.
and sorted me right out.
Yeah.
But
So
it
if
is
people are trying to like make steps for like healthier hair, like what are some like actionable things that you'd suggest? Like let's say like top 5 things.
Top 5. Ooh. So I guess first of all, I would say focus like internally.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that would just taking care of your health in general, going for regular doctor checkups, getting blood work done, and making sure that you don't have like low iron, B12, those sorts of things, any other underlying medical conditions like thyroid disorders, and like making sure that you're eating enough, that you're even exercising, getting enough sleep. Things like that are quite important. Trying to reduce stress levels, because that's easy.
Yeah.
Cause of all my grace.
Yeah. So I would say that's probably the biggest thing, is just focusing on your overall health. And then from like a scalp perspective, I'd say washing enough that you don't have buildup, that you don't have any level of dandruff or seborrheic dermatitis, that you're not using too many products that are could be staying on the scalp and clogging pores. So that's kind of like internal scalp. Your actual hair strands, I would say things like gentle brushing. I use a wet brush, which I like.
Oh yeah, I use
love
a wet brush
brushes.
too. Yeah.
Yes.
And I actually just got the bristly kind too, because my hairdresser told me to do that before bed. Is like, because I have curly hair, so I never brush my hair usually.
Okay.
And she was like, no, every night before bed, use like the boar bristle brush and like brush all your natural oils to your ends.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
real thing.
Totally.
Okay.
Yes, I love boar bristle brushes. They totally, like you said, they can help like exfoliate too the scalp, and they can redistribute oils.
Oh.
Yeah, and they're very gentle on your hair, like especially if you get like a more gentle or soft
like mine
bristle.
is the wet brush,
Yes,
but with boar bristles.
I have this one too. Yeah, they're awesome. So yeah, sometimes I think when people have a lot of hair, like I watch them brush their hair and they are just like not concerned about like rough brushing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would say gentle brushing, especially when your hair is wet, because it can be a little bit.
Because your hair's more elastic. When it's wet. Okay.
Yes.
I've watched a lot of commercials about this.
Yes. So gentle brushing, not using too much heat on your hair. So that's kind of like the strands of your hair. I don't think that's 5 things. I think
you're at 3 or 4.
3.
We're getting close. We can try to.
Let's
if
see.
there's not that many, we can like. Is there any? Let's say like your routine, like shampoo, conditioner. Like what are kind of like your toolkit you should have?
Yeah.
I guess like aside from like a wet brush, is there anything?
Yeah. So I guess this is something else for both scalp and like the condition of your hair strands. Using a shampoo that, especially if you have like sensitive skin or scalp, if you ever get irritation, looking for a shampoo and conditioner that are fragrance free. That's awesome. I just started using, and actually sell it at my clinic, is called Scene, SEEN. And they're dermatologist created, and they have a fragrance free and a fragrance line, and they're formulated to not clog pores. So
okay, awesome.
Yeah, and so that can help with just overall skin, because shampoo is getting all over your body.
Yeah.
And I usually, like, my own routine is I will usually use that shampoo. I wash my hair every 2 or 3 days. And then I will use an anti-dandruff shampoo called Nizoral. It's like, $10 shampoo at the drugstore. And it's very good. Like I used it on my kids who had like cradle cap. Like I really think it's kind of a really
good staple product.
Yeah. Or, I mean, people like different ones, but I think anti-dandruff shampoos can be good, even if you don't have dandruff, seborrheic dermatitis, because it can help reduce inflammation. So
is that would that be the same as like a clarifying shampoo, or are they both completely different?
They're different. They have active ingredients that would target the yeast that causes seborrheic dermatitis. Is called Malassezia. It's the yeast that Yeah. So, I mean, if you do notice that you have dandruff, then definitely, if not, something like a clarifying shampoo to just remove buildup is probably good. Or I usually about once a week also use like a scalp exfoliating product.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I just put it on like maybe 10-15 minutes before I wash my hair, and then it can help remove like any
And would you
buildup
use
or
that and a
flaking.
shampoo?
Yeah, so usually...
And then a conditioner, or a deep conditioner, or do you do like all an intense session once a week, like all together? I don't know.
Yeah. I usually use, yes, I always use conditioner. I'm also using that line called Scene. Deep conditioner. It really depends on your own hair. Like, that's why a lot of people who come to see me, like, if they like their shampoo that they're using, it's not causing them any problems, I'll usually just say continue using that. Because it's not, people are so, they vary really in how they want their hair to look, what they like, the smell of. Like, some people cannot stand the smell of anti-dandruff shampoos or whatever.
I hate the smell of tea tree.
Yeah,
like tea tree oil
okay.
is not anything. Tea tree oil just like turns me off. I don't know.
Interesting.
Well, I don't know. Do you like it?
I mean, I don't. I've never thought about it before, actually.
It's just my own thing, I guess.
Yeah, so I'd say, I use fragrance-free shampoos. I will use an anti-dandruff shampoo once a week. And then if I am experiencing, because I use hair treatments, like topical treatments for hair loss. And so sometimes like that will leave extra stuff in your hair that I will use like an exfoliating product to get rid of.
To kind of remove the buildup.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's 4. I can't think of it.
No pressure. I feel like 4 is good. It's actionable.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about the time. I was in high school and I put mayo and egg in my hair.
Oh my goodness.
I feel like that was like a little phase that people were doing when I was younger.
It was like beer. Like beer was supposed to make your hair very soft.
Oh, I haven't heard. I didn't do beer when I was younger. Just eggs and mayo. My hair was greasy. Raw eggs and mayo.
Yes.
My hair was greasy.
And then you rinse it
heard of
out,
this.
or you
I tried to rinse it out.
in cold water,
I don't remember. I just rinsed it out. I was normal, and then the next day.
but in hot water when the egg cook.
No, like it was just a raw egg and mayo, and you mix it up, and I just put it all in my hair
Oh,
because it was supposed to make it really shiny.
And it just
No,
made
I don't
it
even know where I
greasy.
found this information. There was like no TikTok, no nothing. I made this up.
MSN chat.
Yeah, MSN chat, group chat. It probably was MSN chat.
Just some girls like, oh, Vanessa's hair is too nice. I'm gonna tell her this works.
Yeah, and then I went to school just reeking. There's my hair right now. Just reeking of like mayo and
Oh, gross.
condiments. Like,
I have never heard that tip. Okay.
I have definitely heard
You
that.
have,
Yes.
yeah.
I don't know where I heard it either. I guess it was just,
it was like
girls
when I was
talk.
young.
It's pretty, I would say using products that are specifically formulated for the hair and scalp. It's always good. Like, people always want to find like natural things, but then I think they run into, like, I got a call from someone once and they had like pimples all over their scalp because they had used like some sort of oil. I don't know if it was coconut oil, but it just irritated their scalp.
Oh.
And yeah, I think it's probably best to use things that are formulated for
Hair.
Keep
Yeah,
the food keep it in the kitchen.
Yeah, totally.
Avocado in your hair? I feel like I've heard that one.
Oh yeah, an avocado mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd do it though.
Were you guys like? I don't know how old you are, but were you in the era of using irons to straighten your hair?
Oh my
Yes.
god, yes. I will never forget my friend's head on like just an iron and just
Yeah,
kind of
just
going
before
for
the
it.
high school dance.
Yeah. She ruined her hair, like it was fried for days.
Oh, if your hair was a little wet, or if you didn't turn the like thing off.
I still can't believe we did that. That is insane. I
Yeah.
completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
Oh my
All
god.
the things we would do.
Yeah.
Why didn't we have
Straight hair.
straighteners?
I don't know when straighteners came about.
Well, I had a straightener. I don't know why my friend wanted to iron her hair.
I don't know either. The one thing that I do hate that's coming back is the 3-barrel.
Oh, yeah.
Like
The crimper?
Yeah.
They have those again, I think, because like
Yeah, the youth are all about
they
it.
are all about art. Like it was bad then. Like, you know?
Why are we bringing it back? Yeah, I'm very conflicted every time I go shopping. It's like, I don't know how old I am. I don't know what to wear. It's very confusing.
I like the crimped hair.
Okay.
Yeah, it's no.
Britney
I
Spears
should-
stronger.
Yeah, I kind of like it.
I'll go for the crimped hair over the low rise jeans.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't want to
God.
go back to low rise at all.
Don't, like, I'm just not looking forward to that.
No,
It's not for me.
It's not for me either.
We gave it up for a reason.
Oh my God.
Yeah, well, I think this is good. I feel like I have some good actionable tips. Do you have anything you feel like you missed, Vanessa?
Something interesting. Yeah, so you were wondering, can you increase the thickness of your hair?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that I think, so it's the thickness of your hair is based on how many strands of hair you have. So everybody is born with all of their hair follicles. The number varies from person to person, but about 100,000 hair follicles on the scalp. And so when you're first born, that hair is really fine and thin, and then it starts to thicken up. And so, yeah, basically the overall thickness of your hair is how many hair follicles you have, and then also how thick are each of the hairs.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess one of those that is really genetic.
Mhm.
So you're, born with that. There are certain hair loss conditions that can cause you to obviously lose hair, and things like genetic hair loss can cause hairs to miniaturize, and so they start getting finer and finer with subsequent hair cycles. So using treatments that would target that type of hair loss, so things like minoxidil or anti-androgen treatments like spironolactone, or for men, finasteride, things like low-level laser therapy, PRP, which is called platelet-rich plasma, things like that are targeting the underlying reason for the hair miniaturization. Those could help with hair thickness. Also, there's a type of hair loss that we talked about earlier with like not eating enough calories, the thyroid issues, low iron, those types of things, where there's a higher proportion of hairs in the resting phase or the shedding phase. Typically in a normal scalp, about 90% of the hairs are in the growth phase and about 10% in the telogen phase. But if there is a higher proportion of hairs in the telogen phase, then your hair will be less dense overall. So finding that trigger that's causing it and correcting it could help you to get more of your hairs into the growth phase. And that would also help with the density or thickness of your hair. So definitely there is something that can be done if you have an underlying hair loss condition. But in general, if you don't, there's not a lot that can be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I feel like my hair, especially after I dye it, it's like gets finer and finer, but that's my own. Like that's because I obviously am not taking care of it. Just trying to not be gray.
Yeah, I mean, hair dye isn't the worst thing. I think lightening your hair is worse than dyeing it darker.
Yeah, I usually lighten.
Yeah.
So I guess I know that I'm not being kind to my hair.
I think I'm okay.
Yeah, you're healthy. Okay.
Your hair looks beautiful. So.
Mandy stuff.
All right. Well, thank you so
yeah,
much.
thank
This
you
was
so
really
much.
informative. We're going to start washing our hair more regularly.
I have to take vitamins.
Yeah.
What were the ones again? I'm great. Like I know there's zinc.
Yeah, zinc, vitamin D is
Vitamin
really
D.
good.
You wrote it down.
L-lysine, yeah. L-lysine.
L-lysine.
Yeah, L-lysine can help increase zinc and iron levels, even if you're not taking those. So it can be helpful. And it's good. People take it for immune support as well. And then iron if you're low, but don't take iron, like a high dose of iron, unless you've had your blood tested, because you can take too much of it. And then B vitamins like B12 is good. Again,
biotin gave me a headache when I started taking those biotin pills. It was weird. I don't even know why, but
yeah, well, you probably don't need it.
And then what was the one for making your hair thicker? It was like it started with an M. Is that just
hair treatment, minoxidil?
minoxidil? I don't know how to spell that.
It's MINOXIDIL.
You know what?
Yeah.
You'll figure it
That
Google will know.
Minoxidil is something that it's actually one of the only FDA approved treatments for genetic hair loss or androgenetic alopecia, but it's used in lots of different hair loss conditions. It actually started as a blood pressure medication, and people who were taking it noticed that they were growing hair everywhere. So taking
Just you wait. It's a fuzzy
next. Oh, your beard is looking lovely.
the minoxidil.
Yes, but using it topically usually doesn't cause too much increased hair growth. But yeah, there you go.
Well, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
I feel like we learned a lot.
Yeah, I have actually.
Well, I'm glad. Yes, thank you for having me.
Andrew, have you learned a lot?
I did. I wrote down that tangent.